Welcome to Pop Cult, where we talk reality TV, celebrity chaos, and pop culture throwbacks. Hi everyone, welcome back to Pop Cult. We are your hosts. I'm Avery.
I'm Julia.
We post 2 episodes every week. Tuesdays are for Reality Digest, where we cover the previous week's reality TV moments and latest celebrity chaos. And Thursdays, today, are for the Fame Files, where we revisit defining stories throughout pop culture history. We are doing another Fame Files episode today, and we are talking about the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard case.
I am so excited. I watched this on TikTok religiously, but I'm sure that'll play a large factor in the story today, so I'm excited to hear.
Yes, it absolutely does. I mean, this was obviously an infamous case. It's just funny. I feel like usually when infamous stuff happens like this, it's like we weren't alive yet. So,
yeah, absolutely.
This one we were alive for. And I remember when all the controversy happened and I wasn't really super into it just because I feel like I didn't know who she was. And so I was kind of like, oh, well, I mean, these celebrities get divorced all the time, right? Like, why are we being so dramatic? But
yeah,
after researching this, I mean, there was a whole documentary, limited series made about it and everything. Like, we were really invested as a society.
What year was this?
Well, the actual case that we all remember watching and commenting on happened in 2022, but the controversy really goes all the way back to 2018.
Good lord. Okay.
And they even got divorced before that, so we will get into all of it. But I had fun writing this one. It was tea as fuck, honestly. And the other thing that I'll say before we get started is even after watching everything, reading all the articles, finding all this research and writing the episode, I honestly still don't really know whose side I'm on. This is a toughie.
No, yeah.
So we'll talk a little bit about that, but obviously we're not the jury, and I am so conflicted.
We don't make decisions that have to be held up by the court of law.
Exactly. We're not impacting someone's life here.
No.
Or maybe we are. Let us know.
Oh yeah, because Johnny Depp's gonna come after us now.
Yeah, I know. I mean, honestly, he was I've honestly felt like from everything that I read and saw, he was so over this the entire time. But yeah, there's a lot to this case. So let's get into it. So before we get into the actual case, I'm just going to run through quickly a short history of their marriage, how they met, a little bit about their marriage and their divorce. And then we will get into the juicy stuff. So Johnny Depp and Amber Heard met on the set of The Rum Diaries, which is a film that they were both in that was filmed in 2009. At the time, she was around 22 years old. And he is 22 years older than her. So, not a choice that I would choose to make, but who am I to say, really? Amber Heard has been quoted saying that she and Johnny Depp connected on many things, and she was surprised that they had so much in common. And that they started falling for each other on set. I didn't realize how far back this went either. 2009 seemed like a really long time ago.
No, that seems so long ago.
Yeah. Johnny Depp says that he knew he was really interested in her when he first saw her after the film wrapped on the first day of their press tour for The Rum Diaries in 2011. He said this to the audience at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival, that he was falling for her on set.
I feel like that's already a red flag, in the sense that why are you announcing that you're interested in someone to someone that's not her?
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing he had probably told her already.
I hope so.
Maybe they were already dating at the time.
Maybe.
Well, actually, I don't think they were, because he was in a relationship at the time, actually, where they were filming.
What?
The movie.
And he said, okay.
Yes, he was in a relationship with a woman named Vanessa Paradis. I don't know who that is. Do you?
No idea.
Me neither. But he ended that relationship in June of 2012, and that's when he started dating Amber. So it's kind of that thing that people always say when you not that saying that this is what happened here, but when you start dating somebody as a result of them cheating on their partner, you're the mistress or the side chick or whatever, or vice versa. You're the, I don't know, manstress? I don't know what we call that. Why don't we have a word for that?
For the man?
who's a mistress. Like, I feel like
I
we
don't
should.
know. Just I don't know.
I'm gonna go with manstress. If you're the
I think
manstress,
yeah. I
that's
think
like
the root is that it's sexist because
right.
the
No,
men don't
that's
have
so true.
one.
You're so right. But it's like funny because people always say, like you lose them how you got them. It's like not saying that that's what happens here because it's not like Johnny Depp ended up in a civil dispute with Miss Vanessa, but just saying like maybe if it's tumultuous before it starts, it's probably going to be tumultuous when it ends. Nonetheless, by 2014, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp were confirmed to be engaged after she was spotted wearing an engagement ring. Very a la, who was it? Emma Watson? Did we talk
Yeah,
about?
yeah, it was Emma Watson, but that
Yeah.
was like debunked, unfortunately.
Oh, that sucks. Amber Heard walked so she could run. Anyways, they were married. They were married in February of 2015 in a civil ceremony at their home in LA, and then they had a wedding ceremony sometime after that on Johnny Depp's private island in the Bahamas, which just pissed me off.
Of course, he has a goddamn private island.
Like that made me annoyed, right?
Disney probably gifted it to him.
You're probably right. I know. He's like, guys, I'm literally a pirate. I need a private
I
island.
need an island.
Yeah, Johnny Depp, please advise. Is that what happened? But like I said, their age gap is about 22 years old. So like she's maybe 25 at this point, and he's I can't do that math. 48 or something?
Yeah, under 50 still. But like,
Under 50 still, but weird. But unfortunately, just over a year later, in 2016, Amber Heard filed for divorce under the category of irreconcilable differences and also alleged violence against her from Johnny Depp. He was being violent towards her, is what she was claiming. She was also granted a restraining order along with filing for this divorce. In terms of the violence that she was alluding to, it was allegedly throwing a cell phone and hitting her in the face, subsequently bruising her cheek. There are paparazzi photos of her walking with who I assume is an attorney as she was leaving a courthouse, and she had a bruise on her like right cheekbone. Johnny Depp obviously denied these claims and then accused Heard of stating false accusations because she was basically he was claiming that she was trying to speed up the process of alimony. Like she just wanted her settlement as quickly as possible. What he was alleging is that if she claimed violence, then that obviously like leans in her favor. So perhaps their divorce would have moved quicker. I don't know. I've never been divorced. I don't really know how that works. But eventually they did reach a $7 million divorce agreement, and by 2017 their divorce was finalized. Heard's divorce settlement was $7 million, which she pledged to charity. It was pledged prior to her 2018 Washington Post article, which is what will basically kickstart the entire chain of events that follows this. So keep the whole Washington Post article in mind because it's going to come back up. But this is where it really starts to get interesting because obviously I just said the defamation case started in 2022, but we're only in 2017 when this divorce is
Got a long
finalized.
way to go.
Yeah, I know, like this is 5 years in between. But in April of 2018, about I would say probably a year after their divorce, a UK tabloid called The Sun, which there's also a US Sun, and I think it's like probably the same entity.
Oh, okay.
Both are like
I didn't know that.
not very trustworthy news sources, so just, keep that in mind. In April of 2018, the UK tabloid The Sun published an article wherein they called Johnny Depp a wife beater, and he subsequently sued them for libel in a UK court.
Okay, and libel is like the same thing as defamation, right? I'm not crazy.
Yes, libel is the same thing as defamation, but when it's put in writing.
Okay, great. Thank you.
This libel case was against the publisher of The Sun, and somewhere within this lawsuit, Depp actually accused Heard of domestic violence against him, stating that she had punched him in the face after she found out that he had millions in unpaid taxes. I don't know if you remember this, but this was kind of like a point of contention throughout the US case that we're obviously getting to.
Okay.
Is that like she was actually abusive. So I just thought that was interesting that it was coming up as early as 2018.
Yeah, for sure.
She testified as a witness in this trial, and Johnny Depp believed that the judge almost solely took her testimony in consideration when making the ruling, and he claimed that the whole thing was created as a hoax. The ultimate verdict, however, was that the judge ruled that the article was substantially true, so he lost the libel case, and the judge was basically saying that all the claims were true.
Dang, okay.
So this case was lost in November of 2020.
This is a 2-year case?
Like, yeah, they take so long.
What? Okay.
Like, why are this many people in court? I'll never understand it. In March of 2021, though, a few months after the verdict, he filed an appeal to overturn the ruling, but it was rejected. So I suppose, like, when you lose a case like this, it's just kind of like you just move on with your life because it's not like anybody was going to be arrested. And also, like, he wasn't going to be arrested for abusing her, even though they said the court is saying that he did. Like, the libel case
That is
obviously had
interesting,
no.
but I guess it's just because it was like a word thing he was suing about.
Yeah, and he wasn't suing her. So obviously we know where this case ends up, but in December of 2018, after the UK Sun article was written, Amber Heard had an opinion piece published via the Washington Post, as I mentioned just a moment ago, where she calls back to abuse that she experienced in relationships. While she did not directly mention Johnny Depp, it was implied that that was him, who she was saying abused her.
Was it assumed it was him because she didn't have other public relationships, or like what was the deal there?
I assume probably that, but also the UK Sun article had come out prior to this.
Yeah.
And also, if I had to guess, she likely stated specific details that people could probably connect to
Okay.
Johnny Depp, because some of them are like we'll get into the evidence, but it's like there was an incident where like she had gone to visit him on the set of a Pirates movie. So she probably didn't mention that, but she might have alluded to it. I didn't read her entire article. I honestly don't even know if it's like up anymore. But a quote that I found, she stated, 2 years ago, I became a public figure. 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out. So, this was obviously a large claim to make.
Yeah.
And I would assume that anyone, if they were accused of something like this, regardless of whether or not it was true, that they would look to fight back in whatever way they could. So by 2019, Johnny Depp was officially suing Amber Heard for defamation to the tune of $50 million.
Okay, so he started the.
Correct. And I think another thing that I didn't understand before I started researching all this was that it was a defamation case. I don't know what I thought that they were in court for, but I did not realize it was defamation.
Slander. He's claiming slander.
Yes, this was news to me. I don't know, again, I don't know what I thought they were in court for. Like maybe I thought it was their divorce.
True, because like I honestly didn't realize their relationship literally began in 2009. Like,
Yeah, I know.
Not really, but like they met.
I know, it's crazy. So by April of 2022, they finally began the trial for the defamation claims, not charges, claims. Despite the domestic abuse claims and their divorce in general, this was first and foremost a defamation case. There was no time that was going to be served. This was a case where the defendants were essentially suing one another. So this is when we, as the public, really started to get the details of what had been going on. Johnny Depp was suing her for the impact that her Washington Post article had. He obviously denies the claims of abuse and said that she was orchestrating a hoax in order to promote her film Aquaman at the time, I guess, was about to come out.
Yeah.
And also as a punishment for him leaving her.
So the impact he's talking about, I know he was fired from the Harry Potter series. And I think I don't know.
Harry Potter?
Yeah, so he was in, like the remake with Newt Scamander.
Oh, yeah.
He plays Grindelwald in those movies. And he was
I didn't know
fired
that.
from them because of this. I don't know if it was because of the 2018 article, if it was because of something that happened on trial. I don't remember the dates of that. But he was fired from that, and I believe that's the reason we haven't had another Pirates of the Caribbean movie as well.
So that's interesting that you bring that up because there is another detail that we'll talk about a little later on. So once we get there, I'll mention something about it, but I would assume you're probably right. He was suing her because she was basically affecting his livelihood with these claims because obviously nobody wants to work with somebody who's abusive, right? So, but then he's making the claim that she's lying about this to promote her film. So that's bizarre. And even before like we as the public knew all the details, this had already created a ton of online backlash, but most notably towards Amber Heard. So that's, interesting. That's not usually the way that the chips fall. She then countersued Johnny Depp for $100 million on the grounds.
So we're just throwing money around right now.
I mean, like,
$100 million?
where are they coming up with these numbers?
Where is he getting that?
But she was suing him on the grounds that Johnny Depp and his lawyer had created a smear campaign to discredit her reputation. So this is kind of like, I think probably why so much of the online backlash was directed her way, because this is what she's claiming. But in order for him to win, he needed concrete proof that he was falsely accused of abuse and somehow show that her Washington Post article was the cause of the damage to his life and reputation and career, as you mentioned. So the 6-week trial started in April of 2022, and the grand jury was chosen on April 11th. The trial was held in Virginia, specifically Fairfax County.
Why?
Because the Washington Post article aspect of it all, because that's where the Washington Post is based,
Ew.
and he's suing her for that article. People were literally waiting in line outside the courthouse to be spectators, and they actually allowed fans to be like on the sidewalk just several feet away from where the defendants would be walking into court.
Is that normal?
For some cases, yes. The decision to like allow the spectators is fully up to the judge. But that being said, I don't know if that also applies to people who are outside the courtroom.
Well, because I'm like, they're both accusing, well, he's accusing her of just doing this to promote Aquaman. So I'm like, is she allowing these people to be outside? Like, or vice versa. But I guess
She
it wouldn't
isn't-
be up to them.
No, they have nothing to do with it. And if I had to guess, I would assume that Amber Heard probably would have preferred that nobody was out there, because the vast majority of spectators were there in support of Johnny Depp.
Oh.
There were literally people outside at the courtroom with signs and megaphones chanting their names, whichever way they tended to lean. The judge ordered the jury to stay off the news and off social media, and that the only info that they could consider during the trial is that at which they learned in the courtroom. That being said, she did not sequester them. So ultimately, it's like their judgment could be influenced by social media. Just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, for sure.
But ultimately, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard both testified, but they testified 2 weeks apart from each other. So as we go through like the evidence, I'm going to kind of give like her side and his side for specific pieces of evidence, is like the way that I've kind of put this together. In the beginning of the trial, Depp's agent testified and claimed that the article caused a direct damage to his career because it was the reason that he lost a $23 million deal for a Pirates of the Caribbean sequel.
Ooh.
He says that even after the initial accusations back in 2016, he was still able to book roles and continue acting, but this article had completely damaged his reputation and career. So that's basically what they're using as the basis of the fact that this article is defamation, because now it's allegedly caused him to lose this deal for another Pirates movie, which I'm assuming is what you were just talking about.
Yes, it was.
But Amber Heard's legal team countered that the Pirates deal had already been decided upon by Disney prior to her article being released. So it's kind of like a he said, she said. Like, I think we need...
Well, let's whip out an email, because I know this is all written down. Like,
right, where are the receipts? Like,
yeah.
We need Disney to step in here.
Like, where's your paper trail? You don't keep one? You should.
Right. In their attempt to prove that Heard's allegations were true, her lawyers spoke about evidence such as reports of heavy drug and alcohol use and a different lawsuit against Johnny Depp from July of 2018, wherein a crew member claims that Depp punched him while on set. And this is making me wonder if it was somebody from the Harry Potter movies that he punched.
I thought it was on the Pirates movies.
It very well could have been, but now that you say that he was fired from Harry Potter.
As far as I know, he was fired from Harry Potter. I mean,
yeah.
Yep. He was asked to resign in November of 2020, 2 years after the Washington Post, and he was replaced.
Interesting. Okay, so now this is making me wonder if he punched somebody on the Harry Potter set. Someone please speak out.
Speak out. Who are you?
Come to the front.
Which one did you work
please.
at?
Seriously. At one point after Johnny Depp's team had rested their case, Amber Heard's lawyers actually filed a motion to dismiss the case, but the judge rejected it.
What?
Right. Like, that's weird. If
That's
this
telling
is
me
true,
that you were lying the entire time. Like,
right. It's like, of course there's so much evidence going on here, but it's like, that's a weird thing to do.
but like, why are we just giving up? Like, if you were telling the truth, you wouldn't give up because you know that you are telling the truth.
Part of me wondered if it's because Johnny Depp's head lawyer claimed at one point that Heard physically abused Depp and not the other way around. So perhaps she got
Scared?
wind of that,
Yeah.
and things spiraled. There was a psychologist that took the stand for Heard and claimed that she experienced PTSD from her abuse and her relationship with Johnny Depp. But then Johnny Depp's lawyers also brought in a psychologist who stated that Heard was faking her PTSD symptoms and diagnosed her with borderline personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder, and said that characteristics of these disorders cause people to take on this role of a victim.
I'm just like, it confuses me because you're never supposed to lie on the stand. But I feel like people are always lying on that damn stand.
It's literally a
Like,
crime.
how do you ever know, though, that somebody is for sure telling the truth unless you are in their mind? And the fact that we haven't figured that out yet, I don't know.
It's crazy. And also, I always feel that I'm skeptical of something like a psychologist on the stand making claims like this because, to your point, the psychologist could be making shit up. Like, you don't know.
Yeah, like, also, like, I feel like the psychologist has to, like, personally know you. I feel like they're just whipping out these two random. Just because you're a psychologist doesn't mean you can diagnose this one person. You don't know them.
And also, you're not, again, like, you're not in their brain. Like, for all we know, like, I would love to think that all psychologists are honest, but, like, of course they're not.
Of course
There
they're
has
not,
to be some
because
crooked psychologists out there.
humans are terrible.
And, like, people will do a lot of shit for the right amount of money.
For real.
Put it that way. This is not to say which, I don't even know whose side I believe
who are you
more.
supposed? Yeah, like, who are you supposed to know? Like, you can't. Like, there's no way to know.
Right. Which is why I think in a court of law it comes down to the evidence, because that's the only way you can make a decision, you know,
All I
based off
remember,
fact.
all I remember truly from this case is like Amber Heard's lawyer being like the dumbest bitch alive.
Yeah, she was kind of dumb. But her psychologist said that she does not have any form of a personality disorder, but she also said that Amber Heard has admitted to pushing and shoving Depp at times, along with calling him names and criticizing his parenting at point.
Do they have kids?
He has kids.
I know.
Or
Okay, but
a kid, maybe.
they don't have kids together, correct?
No kids together. Her justification for this behavior was that there is a difference in the violence when the person inflicting it is smaller than the person that they are assaulting.
I feel like, abuse is abuse. Like,
Right. That was probably kind of a crazy thing for her to say. But I understand what she means. I have to give her the benefit of the doubt there. There is nuance to what she's saying. She also said that Johnny Depp insisted that she avoid any work where she had to do nude scenes and would accuse her of having affairs with other actors while working on projects. She said that she knew that she should have left him after all of this, but that she apologized, so she stayed because she wanted to believe him. He obviously denies everything, but her lawyers say that his memory isn't credible because they claim that he blacks out under the influence of alcohol and drugs, and that's when many of the incidents take place. One of his spokespersons, I don't know, said about her testimony that she was making up new and convenient details and her stories kept changing, whereas Johnny Depp's had remained the same over the course of 6 years since she first alleged that he abused her.
I mean, I feel like that's kind of telling in a way, but I don't know.
Yeah, for 100%. At one point, Heard even testified that she had purchased him a large knife as a gift at one point.
What does that mean?
Like, why are you going to buy somebody who's abusing you a knife?
Yeah, okay.
Think about that.
That's like a good little thing that Depp's case people found.
That is a good question, for sure. Why would you? I would not buy anybody a knife, me personally.
Personally, I'm not buying people weapons.
Why are we buying people? That's also kind of a boring gift, if you ask me. I'd be kind of annoyed if I got a knife.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, there were, of course, several major incidents of alleged evidence that were the key point of this trial. I'm going to go through all of them, but these are, just keep in mind, they are in no particular order. Like, I'm not sure at what time of
they were like released within the trial.
Yeah, and also maybe what time that they happened either. Like, I don't know if these are, but if like one happened first and then the second and the third, I might mention dates here and there, but these could be out of order from when they happened in real time.
Keep in mind, guys, we weren't there.
Yeah, keep in mind, I was 9 in 2009. 10. So, there's that. The first piece of evidence that we're going to talk about is the tattoo. Heard alleges that the first time that Johnny Depp hit her was over a tattoo on his upper arm that said Winona Forever for when he dated Winona Ryder, which I did not know that he did.
Oh, I did. Have you look up photos of them together? They are so slay.
I will. But when they broke up, he changed it to Wino Forever, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Why no forever? Except for the fact that isn't he like sober?
Maybe he is now, but he definitely was
I
not when
know,
they
but
were,
like
yeah, ironic nonetheless.
ironic.
But she states that she claims that she laughed at the tattoo when she saw it and says that because she laughed that he slapped her across the face. He testified in court that this did not happen and that he's never hit her and that this would be a ridiculous thing to get angry over. So basically, like, a huge thread throughout this entire case is that he has like gnarly anger issues,
Okay,
which
so like,
I'm
how is this evidence? If you know, but like, this
right.
is a
I mean,
story.
right, of course. That's like I think the tricky thing about this case is it's like how do you prove abuse
Yeah, that's fair.
when nobody witnesses it? I think this is like probably something that many abuse victims deal with is like how do I prove it? It's too long. It's been too long. They've been divorced for 5 years at this point. It's not like she has any physical, scars or
Yeah,
anything like that or permanent
they would
injuries.
appealed for sure.
Yeah, but I think it's like they're just trying to establish reasonable doubt between one or the other,
Okay,
if I had to guess.
I just didn't. I
Mm.
wasn't sure how it could be submitted as like evidence. I don't
Yeah.
know how like stuff like this works.
Yeah, honestly, they might even call it something different in a case like this.
Maybe.
The another piece of evidence was this is an actual piece of evidence. There is a video that she took on her phone. He obviously did not know that she was recording, but he's in this video, he is in their kitchen kicking the walls and cabinets and like slamming cabinet doors. He's clearly extremely drunk. We then see him slam a bottle of wine on the table and then he sees that she was recording. He picks up her phone, throws it, and when she picks it back up, she's like kind of laughing. But I will say, like, it definitely did not make him look good.
Yeah, that sounds a little scary.
Absolutely. I think yes, I would also be scared if somebody were in my presence doing all that. When her lawyer questioned him about this video, he refers to the glass of wine that he poured as a mega pint. And when Johnny Depp is on the stand and he hears this lawyers call it a mega pint, the way that he just kind of like looks at the lawyer and like tilts his head and he's like, mega pint? Like, what are you talking about? And this, like, you just made up a word on the spot. Like, a mega pint is not a real thing. But this was the first time that something said in this trial kind of went viral. And in my opinion, because remember there's cameras in the courtroom, you can watch court TV of this case.
Yes.
Still, in my opinion, this kind of started the ball rolling where a lot of what was coming out of this trial just seemed so ridiculous and almost like they were just making a mockery of the situation.
I'm watching the video that Amber took. I found
Oh,
it on
good.
YouTube.
There was also a former TMZ employee who testified that the video that she took in the kitchen was sent to him, but the part at the end where she picks the phone back up and is smiling and laughing was not included in the video that TMZ received. So,
Well, that's
the
interesting.
right, so she's like cut out a part of this video that could
Yeah.
potentially make it look like this was fabricated or taken out of context, is what the TMZ
Yeah.
employee is
For sure,
alluding
if
to.
she's like changing it so you can't see her smile.
Right. And if she's laughing at the end, then it's like, okay, well, clearly you don't like actually feel that you're in any real
Yeah.
threat of danger. I would assume. I can't say for certain. Something that I thought was funny, I watched the documentary about this case on Netflix, and it had like so much behind the scenes stuff that just wasn't really relevant to the actual case. But one thing that I did think was funny from the documentary that I wanted to include was that one of Amber Heard's lawyers accused this former TMZ employee who came forward with this information about the video from the kitchen of just wanting his 15 minutes of fame. And the TMZ employee responded and said, I could say the same thing for you for taking on Amber Heard as a client.
That went so viral.
It
That
did.
like, yeah, that was crazy.
It did. I don't remember this when it happened, but you're absolutely right. It went insanely viral.
I will say, so I just watched the video and like I couldn't really tell that she was like truly smiling. It wasn't like a teeth smile.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Like a
just kind of like
smirk.
a yeah, but like not even that. Like it truly didn't even really look like a smile to me, but she did not look like blatantly upset about anything. I will say that.
Right, like she's not like crying.
Yeah.
The third piece of evidence is what I'm calling the penthouse. In April of 2016, they got in a fight at their LA penthouse because it was her birthday that day and he was late to her party because he had a meeting run over. She was pissed when he finally got there, and he claims that she smacked him across the face twice, and she claims that it was basically a shoving match. He claims that he then sat her on the couch while he packed up his things to go to his other house without her, but she claims that he threw her on the bed and continued to verbally abuse her.
Yikes.
It's just like so much he said, she said.
Yeah, a lot.
The day after this, Amber Heard went to Coachella. While she was gone, Johnny Depp wanted to go back to the penthouse to get some more things while she was going to be out of town because he was going to leave her. So he told his security that he wanted to go back and get some stuff. But his security, I guess, was like staying at this in the penthouse and told him that it was not a good time to go. And then this is what we've all been waiting for, and then showed him a picture on his phone of their bed with a pile of poop on the side of Johnny
Oh
Depp's
my
side of the
god.
bed.
Oh my god.
Right. In court, Johnny Depp refers to the poop as a grumpy. I've never heard that before.
A grumpy?
A grumpy.
Yeah, like, no, that doesn't make any sense. But okay, John.
Maybe it's a British thing. Can someone please
He's
confirm?
like
I don't
saying
know.
Grumpy in
Yes,
reference
grumpy.
to a pile of shit.
Yes. Like as in an emotion. But he's
Okay.
calling that poop a grumpy. I don't know. He also called it bizarre and grotesque, which makes much more sense to me.
Yes.
And he's like understandably trying not to laugh, like as he's recounting this in the trial. Johnny Depp's chauffeur also testified because he was driving Amber Heard and her friend to Coachella that day, and he claims that Amber told him about what she left on the bed and she called it a practical joke gone wrong. She also blamed it on Johnny Depp's dog, Boo, but they were like tiny little Yorkies.
There's more
And
than
he's,
one.
yes, but like she's only blaming it on one dog because there were text messages of Depp and Heard talking to third parties about concerns about Boo's bowel issues. So she's
Okay.
basically trying to claim that like it was the dog because the dog has like poop problems.
Sure.
The reason why I mentioned that Boo was a tiny little Yorkie is because like there's very much a difference between the size of a dump between a Yorkie
And a
and like a
human.
human, right? I'm sorry, this is so funny. Anyways, a few days later on May 21st, 2016, Johnny Depp went to the penthouse so that he could talk to Amber. He went with his security team, which I think was a good choice.
Yeah.
Heard says that all he wanted to talk about was the poop,
Well,
which like
that's all I want to talk about too, Amber.
I mean, can you blame him?
No.
Like that's crazy. Cl- he was claiming that she and a friend had both pooped on his pillow.
Oh my god.
Heard called the friend who he thought was involved in this, and the friend just started laughing at the thought. And she says that he got angry after that and started yelling some things and stormed upstairs. But when he heard the friend tell her to get out of the house because she wasn't safe, she claims that he came back downstairs, grabbed the phone, and threw it at her face, hitting her in the eye. The friend claims that he threatened to continue hitting her, and then he heard the phone drop and heard her screaming. So this incident
Okay.
where she's claiming that he threw the phone at her eye is what you saw in that picture that you looked up earlier.
Oh, okay, that was
Yeah,
then. Okay.
this is the incident. So like this is how far back all this runs. He claims that he told the friend, "You can have her." This happened to be a male friend, and I guess like maybe he had speculated that this male friend was interested in Amber. He claims that out of nowhere she just started screaming for him to stop hitting her, but that he was over by the fridge, something of 20 feet away, and she was sitting on the couch. His security team then rushed in because they heard the screaming, but when they walked in, he wasn't even near her, and she was just saying that that was the last time that he would hurt her. So she's saying he's hitting her. He's saying she just started screaming that he was hitting her so that she could, I guess, potentially have evidence that security was there, but then security never actually saw him hit her, allegedly.
Okay.
Right, it's very complicated.
Yeah.
Despite the varying claims, we know for sure that her friend then called the police. So we know for a fact that she was on the phone with this friend, which they both said. But once the police got there, she wouldn't talk to them. And her friend took photos of her face where the phone allegedly hit her, but his security says that there was no mark on her face. So it's like essentially they're claiming that she put makeup on her cheek tried to make it look like a bruise.
Like, I could see it if she had, like, talked to the police and they had taken photographs of her, because the police is, like, a non-biased party. But then you have a biased party of her friend saying there was a bruise there. And then also the biased party of Johnny Depp's personal security team saying that there was no bruise. And I need
Right.
an unbiased party here. And it could have been the police.
It should have been the police.
It
It's
should
like,
have
but
been the
it's like,
police.
what are they gonna do if she won't talk to them?
Yeah, absolutely.
If all of this is true, that she wouldn't talk to the police, to me that is damning. The next piece of evidence is a voice recording of her talking about how she hit him and that she started a physical fight, but that she didn't punch him and he was being dramatic. So basically she's like saying in this voice recording, like, it's not like I punched, or I think she was actually speaking to him. It's like she's saying something along the lines of, it's not like I punched you. Like, you're being so dramatic. It's not like I punched you. So the question then became, is she actually the aggressor? Because now this is like adding a completely new layer. But also, does this mean that he's fully in the clear? Also, no. There is a voice recording of her telling him to, quote, tell the world that he was a victim. He said that he was a victim both on the recording and in a court recounting the incident. So she's in this voice recording where she's telling him to tell the world. She's like making fun of him. Like, go ahead, tell the world that you're a victim. Go ahead, you're an abuse victim. Tell him.
Yikes, that doesn't sound good for her.
Right. So there's that. And then this is probably, in my opinion, like the most disturbing of all of the incidents. This happened in Australia while Johnny Depp was shooting the Pirates 5 movie, like Pirates of the Caribbean 5, I guess. And she came to visit him in Australia while he was shooting in March of 2015. She claims that when she got there, he was suggesting that they use MDMA, and she was surprised that he was suggesting that they use drugs because he had gotten sober. So she got upset at him and just went insane. He claims that she was upset because she thought he was trying to trick her into a post-nup agreement and he was trying to calm her down. His property manager of, I'm assuming, wherever he was staying in Australia, went to the house after the argument and found lots of broken glass, a chunk taken out of a marble staircase, a ping pong table essentially broken half, and there was also blood drips all over the house and paint and paintbrushes everywhere. And the mirrors in their bathroom had writing on them.
Was this two Hulks fighting? Like, what on
Right,
earth?
like, how are we taking a chunk out of a marble staircase?
Really throwing me off. And how are we breaking a ping pong table?
Right, like, are we doing the move where you like literally jump on it and
Yeah,
like elbow
exactly.
first? Ouch. I did see pictures of the mirrors in their bathroom that had like the writing on them, but I couldn't tell what they said. It was like so Pretty Little Liars, like A coded though. Like it was like, I think it was like red or black paint or something. Like it was so drama.
Oh.
The property manager claims that a woman named Debbie Lloyd, who was a nurse, and a man named David Kipper, who was a doctor, were both at the house when he arrived. I think this nurse and doctor were maybe like, I don't know if this is how this works. I've obviously never worked on a movie set, but maybe like he had a nurse and a doctor that were sort of on call should anything happen to him while he's filming. That would be my best guess. When Johnny Depp and Amber Heard testified, he says that he was locking himself in various rooms and bathrooms while she was banging on the doors and basically trying to fight him. At one point, he came out and went to the bar and took a few shots of vodka. And when she came to the bar and found him, she was mad that he was drinking. So he claims that she threw like the vodka bottle at him and that it hit him and shattered, and then he realized that the tip of his finger had been cut off. And there are photos of his cut finger that I was assaulted with and did not ask to see.
Ew. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the whole tip of like a thumb, I think. It was gross. She claims that she reached for the bottle and he yanked it back. She finally grabbed it, threw it on the ground and smashed it, and she claims she doesn't remember if she threw it at him, but she does remember him grabbing her nightgown, slamming her on the countertop, and holding her down by the neck.
Yikes.
As she's recounting her retelling of this story on the stand, she's like sobbing and hyperventilating. She also says that he sexually assaulted her with a glass bottle, and there was criticism that this aspect of her testimony should not have been shown publicly. There were inconsistencies in her story. However, the public vitriol about this part of the testimony was strong, and people were even likening her testimony to the plot of the movie Gone Girl.
Wow.
So, because that literally happens in Gone Girl. So that's crazy. But then ultimately, like, the thread that is sort of running through this whole trial is the substance abuse aspect.
Yeah.
It was a huge aspect of this case. Johnny Depp testifies that he started taking his mom's pills as young as 11 years old. It was some sort of anxiety medication. He admits that he had been addicted to roxycodone, which is an opiate, but he also claims that 2 of these pills would basically put him to sleep. There was a picture that was shown in court of him sleeping on the couch with a bowl of melted ice cream on his lap, and there was also a picture of him in a full suit passed out asleep on the floor. There were several more photos that showed him passed out that she had taken, and she was sending them to her best friend. So basically, she's like collected this album of photos of him passed out after the use of substances. So the implication of this piece of evidence is that if he's
Yeah.
addicted to these pills and these pills are what he's taking, then how is he abusing her if he's like asleep all the time?
And she's using this as her evidence? He's not using it as his?
So I think that they both used it in a way, but his lawyer did use it as evidence to show that, like, when he was messed up on substances, he was passing out, not becoming irate. I do find there to be holes in this piece of evidence because we obviously see the video in the kitchen. Like, clearly he's not always on these pills. He has other substances of choice. A very, very specific piece of this case that I really didn't find anything on anywhere else other than in the documentary on Netflix was a specific color correcting compact from Milani Cosmetics that Heard's lawyers showed the jury, claiming that this is what she used to cover up her bruises during their relationship. After this piece of evidence came out, Milani Cosmetics themselves, like on their own personal TikTok, came out and said that this compact did not come out until 2017, so it wasn't possible that she could have used it during their relationship because they were divorced in 2016.
Damn. I didn't feel like a makeup company coming out and saying something like this is crazy.
I know. And I did read a few things about the fact that, like, after that, Milani came back out and were like, we weren't trying to take a side. We were just simply trying to state a fact. Like,
the fact that everyone could just say whatever they wanted about this case is just, it's so crazy. It was so public. But these are like 2 people's lives. And everyone was just like trying to be involved.
I know, and I think that's always the battle when it comes to deciding whether or not cases are going to be televised, but then it's also like it's not necessarily a bad thing that they aren't, because then it keeps everybody accountable. Like, it keeps the judge accountable and the participating parties, I guess, from like trying to sway things or break laws in any sort of way. So, but yeah, it's really wild. But after this, her lawyers said that they were just using the Milani palette as a comparable example of something that she would have used. But the public massacred her for this, and her legal team, and they were accusing both of them of lying.
Yikes. I feel like if they were using it as like a comparable thing, they would have said that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
Like, they would have said that to begin with.
I know.
Okay.
If she did use a color correcting compact, maybe they discontinued it and then she started using that one at a certain point in time.
Yeah, that's fair.
But in Heard's defense, another criticism was that Johnny Depp's supporters were absolutely crucifying her for the makeup fiasco, but just blatantly ignoring the very real evidence and testimony from Depp about his drug use. So it's kind of like the age-old thing where we're, of course, like blaming the woman and like letting the man get away with whatever.
Yep.
But then again, he has been honest about his substance abuse, so I don't want to like rag on him too much for that. I mean, go to rehab, but like whatever, it's none of my business. Another big aspect of the case was what Heard did with her $7 million divorce settlement that I mentioned at the top of the episode. She claims that she donated it to 3 different charity organizations, but Johnny Depp's lawyer claims that she never actually donated the money, and she does admit that she hadn't donated it yet, saying, quote, I have not been able to fulfill those obligations yet.
Girl, you got the 7 million.
And it's like, ultimately, I think this speaks to 2 things. Number one, maybe she's not the most honest person in the world, but also it speaks to, was he right all along from the beginning when he said that she's making these claims because she wants money?
Mm-hmm.
Another piece of evidence in the case was the testimony from Amber Heard's sister, Whitney, and also a friend of hers, the same friend who called the police in the day in that penthouse. Both of them testified that they all really liked him at first, and when he was sober, He was great, but his alcohol and cocaine use changed him in the way that he would disparage her for her looks, accuse her of having affairs, and just generally say horrible things about her as a person. Verbal abuse is how I would go about describing that.
Yeah.
The only person to have ever seen him be violent towards her was her little sister Whitney. One day, Amber found his iPad with texts from him to another woman who he was allegedly cheating on her with. And when this happened, Heard and her sister were both in the house. The sister claims that they were both verbally assaulting each other. Johnny Depp claims that Heard hit him, but she and her sister claim that she hit him because Johnny Depp hit her sister first, and that Amber was just defending Whitney, and then he like started repeatedly hitting Heard once she got mixed up in it.
That doesn't sound fun.
So we have like this third party account, which is what we're dying for, but once again, it's biased.
It is biased.
This to me is another very damning piece of evidence, the one I'm about to read, against her. And it's also very bizarre. At one point during Amber's recounting of the story, she brings something up that she mentions as, quote, Kate Moss and the stairs.
Never bring up something unless you've discussed it with your lawyers. I remember this happening in the TikTok lives. Because as soon as you bring up something, it can then be held up in court.
Yes, you're spot on. I do not remember this happening, and this was like actually shocking to me. She later explains that she heard a rumor about this. There were many rumors and headlines about Johnny Depp and Kate Moss's relationship being volatile. So, like, of course, it's not unheard of that she would have heard of something like this. But from what I understand, when Amber Heard brought this up, she opened the door for Kate Moss to essentially be allowed to be called as a witness. If Heard had not brought up this rumored incident, she would not have been able to be called upon because the rumor would have had nothing to do with the case and would have been deemed irrelevant to a defamation case. If this were a case maybe in an attempt to put Johnny Depp in prison for abuse on the grounds of abuse, then perhaps it would have been different. But this was a defamation case and Kate Moss had nothing to do with it.
I'm sure that Heard's lawyers were like, oh my god, I can't believe she just said that. And his lawyers were like money signs in the eyeballs.
Literally, his lawyers were like, one of them like did that thing where you like people, I don't even know how to describe this, but they were like
yes.
I think like they did like the fist and then like
I don't know how to arm pull down.
What do you call that? Yeah, sure. That's what we're gonna go. Fist and the arm pull down. That's what they did. So Johnny Depp's attorneys called Kate Moss as a witness. She was a virtual witness. It just felt like
she was not there in person.
She's very beautiful, even on Zoom. They ask her about a trip to Jamaica that she and Johnny Depp took together, where she says that they were leaving the room and she slipped on the stairs and slid down. The assumption by Heard was that Depp had pushed her down the stairs, but Kate Moss testifies under oath that he did not push her down the stairs and he never physically assaulted her.
Interesting.
Amber. So that's telling.
Just a bit.
And then lastly, the last incident that we're going to discuss, and the one with, in my opinion, probably the most controversy surrounding it, was this incident that happened on a private plane in May of 2014. So Heard and Depp were on a private plane together, had argued the night before, and she claims that it was because he was mad that she had taken a role that would require her to do a sex scene with James Franco. He accused her of basically cheating on him.
Of all people. Like, movie stars.
Right.
This is your job.
Like, you guys would think that they would be like able to get over it, you know, or don't date another movie star, respectfully. Brought to the stand to testify about this incident was Johnny Depp's sound engineer, and also I guess like the sound engineer was his friend. The sound engineer says that she was just kind of ignoring him and pouting during the course of this flight, but he claims that he had taken 2 roxycodones, so he just like wasn't even paying attention. But she claims that he called her a slut and was saying disgusting things about her. The sound engineer, Wyatt, says that he was right there with them and he denied that Depp said anything verbally abusive towards her. She claims that she got up and suddenly he had kicked her in the back and that she was like on the ground, I think, and no one else on the plane stepped in. Wyatt said that this never happened. She said that he kept drinking and eventually passed out in the bathroom, and Wyatt says that he does not know if Johnny Depp was passed out from substance use. There were allegedly text messages between Depp and his assistant, I think, that supposedly would confirm his violence on the plane. Heard's lawyers asked the judge to admit these in court, I'm not sure why they weren't already, but the judge did not admit them in court. So we don't know what they said. But there were texts between him and another actor friend where they were talking about like burning her and killing her, like hypothetically, which is insane. And like, I guess this was just like the only justification I can find is that like they were in a really bad place in their marriage, or maybe the divorce was going poorly. But he did take full responsibility and admitted to them, but did not really explain why, other than just saying that he was in a dark place.
The real dark place to go, Johnny.
Right. So, do with that information what you will. So, they finished their testimonies. Obviously, we're all exhausted from watching this case on TikTok and the TikTok investigators. But finally, it was time for the closing statements and the jury to make a decision. While the jury was deliberating, I thought that this was weird. Johnny Depp went to London to play a concert.
What do you mean play a concert?
Like, he was literally playing a concert.
Like, he was in the concert?
Yes, like he was performing, like singing and playing a guitar.
I didn't know he could do either of those.
Me neither. If I had to guess, he's probably not very good, but maybe he has a lot of fans in London. Regardless, on June 1st, 2022, the jury of 7 people came back with a verdict, which was in Depp's favor and confirmed that Depp and his team were able to prove that Heard did defame him in her Washington Post piece. He was owed $15 million in damages. Reminder, he sued for 50. He was awarded $10 million in compensatory damages and $5 million in punitive damages. I don't have any clue what the difference is, so don't ask. Which was later reduced to only $350K because of some sort of Virginia state laws. I don't really know.
So who pays that?
She does. Yeah. She was actually awarded $2 million in compensatory damages for the claim that she countered, stating that she had been defamed by his attorneys for calling her accusations a hoax. The smear campaign that she countersued for, she did win. I think it was maybe 1 count of what she was suing for. In a way, they were both winners in this case, but his was just more substantial. Depp was actually not even able to attend court on the day of the verdict, but his lawyer was quoted saying about his reaction, quote, "He was elated and he sounded as if the weight of the world was off his shoulders." I mean, he sounded like a kid. He was thrilled.
It's weird that he wasn't there.
Like, what else are you doing? You're not filming
you got fired.
You know that. Literally. Part of his direct statement was, quote, "6 years ago, my life, the life of my children, and the lives of those closest to me, and also the lives of the people who for many, many years have supported and believed in me were forever changed. All in the blink of an eye. False, very serious, and criminal allegations were levied at me via the media, which triggered an endless barrage of hateful content, although no charges were ever brought against me. It had already traveled around the world twice within a nanosecond, and it had a seismic impact on my life and my career. And 6 years later, the jury gave me my life back." I'm not really sure that that's true. Like, it's a defamation case. It's not like you got out of prison. But, like, do your worst, Johnny Depp, I guess. I don't know. Part of Heard's response to the verdict was, quote, "The disappointment I feel today is beyond words. I'm heartbroken that the mountain of evidence was still not enough to stand up to the disproportionate power, influence, and sway of my ex-husband. I'm even more disappointed with what this verdict means for other women. It is a setback." And I do remember there being lots of headlines after the verdict came out that she was, like, really tore up about it for, like, domestic abuse victims.
I mean, that's very fair.
Yeah. But then there were also many counters to that where domestic abuse systems were saying that she abused her power and was making false claims.
I mean,
and that she made it worse for them. Lots going on. She had 21 days to file an appeal with the court. If she were to do that, a bond of $8.35 million would need to be put up in order for the appeal to move forward. Right.
Is that, like, normal? Right. I don't know.
Maybe. Probably not. Maybe it was just because of the type of case it was. And probably the amount of money that they were each suing each other for had to do with it. After the verdict had been ruled, Heard's lawyers told the court that she didn't have the money to pay the damages to Depp or to pay the bond for the appeal.
Oh, so where is all your money? Because, like, I know, where's your money? That's what I'm saying. Like, you got that $7 million. That doesn't just disappear. Where have you put it?
Right. And sometimes I do actually think about this often. Like, if somebody gave me $7 million, I would be so wise with it because I wouldn't want to ever have to work again. Like, if you just gave me $7 million, I would literally spend it so wisely just so that I could live off of it for the rest of my life.
Me too. I don't
You
see
know?
that, like,
Like,
wouldn't even
why?
be a
How are they
question
spending
for
money
me.
this way? Right. Like, how are they, honestly, like, we're making the wrong people famous, genuinely.
I would move home and live there for free with my $7 million.
Your parents would not let you move home for free if you had $7 million.
They wouldn't have a choice.
Maybe if you paid their mortgage.
It's fair. I could do. The least I could
I'm
do.
dead.
I could do that.
I'm dead. So, a little bit about the jury in this case, because obviously we talked a little bit about them having potentially some outside influence. There was a juror that did an interview after the trial was over, and these were kind of my main takeaways from the article that I read. This juror says that the jury had decided that both parties were likely abusive to each other, but Heard's lawyers were unable to prove that his abuse was physical, and they actually considered Heard to be the aggressor amongst the majority of the
I
jury.
agree with, like, I kind of agree with this statement in the sense that, like, I feel like her lawyers screwed her entire case. Like, I
Agreed. They did a
100%
very bad job.
think that Heard could have won this case. And I think her lawyers, they just, like, they were too cocky about it, but I don't even want to say that because they looked dumb as hell on the stand.
Well, I think you probably are onto something. Like, they thought that it was going to be a
and they
sweep.
just did not come prepared in the way that Johnny Depp's case.
Exactly. A juror also states that the pictures of him on drugs and the pictures of her alleged bruising were unconvincing, and that led to their decision to rule in his favor, which is super interesting because given the fact that she's the one that took those pictures. And then they were used
against her
and backfired. It read to the jury as disingenuous also when it came out that she had never actually finished donating the $7 million that
I
she
think
said
that's
she
very
would.
fair.
Yeah, that speaks to somebody's character.
It's
like,
been
that's kind
years.
of what you have to consider.
Like, you could have done a little bit at a time and still have been done by now.
Yeah, and like that's the thing. It's like we're not expecting you just to give up the $7 million immediately. Don't. First of all, I mean, maybe just don't even pledge that. Like, nobody's judging you for keeping your divorce settlement.
No. Like, why did you feel the need to pledge it like that
in the first place? Like, it just doesn't
but
even
if
make
you're
sense.
gonna do it, do it. Don't
actually
don't
donate
just
it.
say it. Like, that's just shitty.
And I'm pretty sure that she pledged it like on like a national TV somewhere.
She's crazy for that one.
So, like, why would you do that, girl? They also referred to Heard's testimony as crocodile tears and that she could, quote, flip the switch on her emotions, which I remember that being
remember that too.
criticisms. Yeah. While Depp appeared, quote, more real in terms of how he responded to the questions, according to this juror. This is the only juror to have spoken publicly about the case, and he remains unnamed. But like I said, there were concerns about jurors favoring a side if they were fans, but this juror in particular stated that none of them were really fans
Can't
of
they
either
not be?
person.
Like,
yeah, like ideally
yes, they wouldn't have any
also
idea who they were, I think.
Right. But somebody could lie and say, no, I have no clue who's for this because they want to be on the case. Low-key, you didn't hear it here, but I would do that.
I mean, who wouldn't?
I would be impartial. I would not
I
pick
would
a
not.
side. But I would do my civic duty for a celebrity trial like this. And I would do it well. Trust. As we've kind of been alluding to throughout this whole episode, there was lots of public opinion that surrounded this case. In a BBC article, which was written sometime after the case was over, I couldn't find the exact date, an investigative journalist, I'm assuming, wrote an article called Amber Heard versus the Internet, an organized smear campaign, ? Prior to the US trial starting, there were allegedly a ton of social media accounts created that were essentially promoting Johnny Depp. And this is why Amber Heard's legal team was then claiming that they somehow created these bot accounts that would then attack her on social media. However, they were not able to prove
that doesn't make any sense. Why would they make the accounts that were?
So they're saying that Johnny Depp's team was making fake bot social media accounts.
Oh, I thought you were saying
attack
Amber Heard was making the social media account.
No,
okay,
his was. That's what they're claiming that his team was. This article is a very small snippet of a 6-part podcast created by the BBC and this journalist, and it's called Who Trolled Amber on BBC Sounds, in case anyone wants to listen to that. But the gist of what they claim is that they found millions of tweets from accounts that were verified by a data expert to be fake accounts and that had been paid for with the intention of creating slander against someone online. They then discovered that some of these accounts were originating from, stay with me here, Saudi Arabia. And the reason why this made some sense is because Johnny Depp visited Saudi Arabia many times, is friends with the ruler of the country, and Saudi Arabia also backed Depp's last 2 films financially. Like prior to this case, I'm assuming
Interesting.
those two films happened. Right. Apparently, Saudi Arabia has been known to use internet bots to promote a certain side of situations that are relevant on social media. This is a very bizarre aspect of this case. Obviously, his team denied these accusations, and it should be mentioned that the number of Saudi accounts was small. The main reason that this is relevant is because the jury in this case was not sequestered, which again means that they could not read anything about the case via
But
the
because they
internet.
weren't, they
So,
could. Okay.
correct. So they would have had access to the content of this alleged smear campaign. So, like, I threw the Saudi Arabia thing in there because that's just like a wild
Mhm.
tidbit. But ultimately, the problem is that the jury is could be
Yes.
seeing these
Okay.
things that are, and if they're coming from bot accounts, then like that's even worse because it's fake news. I hate to use
Yeah.
that phrase, but like essentially. During the final week of testimonies, both Depp and Heard took the stand for the last time, and part of Amber Heard's testimony was, quote, I am harassed, humiliated, threatened every single day. I just want Johnny to leave me alone. I don't deserve this. I want to move on. And this case was widely referred to as the first trial by
Yeah,
TikTok.
for sure.
100%. It was highly publicized and free to live stream on Court TV. They both faced online harassment, but the consensus is that it was worse for her. I think we can all agree
For
with that.
sure.
I think that this played a part in her deciding not to appeal as well.
Well, she also can't just apparently come up with the money. But I mean, this
Right.
trial was so big, like publicized, that like it's literally mentioned in one of Billie Eilish's songs.
You're
No, I'm
joking.
so for real.
I don't listen to her music, so not surprising that I wouldn't know that. I also feel like I don't really pay attention to lyrics when I listen to, like, I'm just, if it's a bop, like, I'm
That's
just
fair.
bopping
That's
along,
fair.
you know? Nonetheless, it was clear that TikTok showed a bias towards Depp and that the hashtag justice for Johnny Depp had more than 10 billion views, while the hashtag justice for Amber Heard had only 37
Dang,
million.
that's a big difference.
Quite the difference. Quite the difference. Awkward. Depp supporters outside the courthouse were chanting Amber Turd as she left court.
You couldn't come up with anything more creative.
Literally, while he would leave waving and smiling to his supporters. A little too
Yeah, 'cause
smiley, if you
like,
ask me, from some of the footage that I
and
saw.
also like, you guys don't know, like, if you're standing out there, unless you were like being able to live stream it on your phone, you don't know what just happened in court that day. Like, you don't know if
Mm-hmm.
like you're supporting like a literal abuser or not. Like, you don't know what happened
That
that
is
day.
so true. That's so true. That's a really good point. And to your point, this trial was taking over news cycles. Like, it was literally being shown over things like literal war. I think as this trial was going on was like the height of the
Well, I feel
Russian-Ukrainian
like that's
war.
kind of what Billie Eilish was just trying to get at. She's like, this is being shown over like more important things happening in the world, and we're
Yeah, it's kind of like when
yeah.
Scandival was on CNN, which like we will
Oh
be
my
talking about in a
god.
few weeks, but nonetheless, that was big news to me with Scandival. But TikTok became a huge concern in terms of misinformation being spread, and so did content creators on YouTube as well. These social media creators were making so much money reporting on this trial. There was a clear bias in these videos towards Depp, and there was a clear gang up on anyone on social media who may have spoken out in support of Heard. Something I noticed that I just felt the need to put in here is that the majority of the like internet reporters, if you will, I call them keyboard warriors, but whatever, were men probably in like their late 20s, early 30s, with channels that I would consider to be sort of like red pill content, giving their opinion on this case and I suppose reporting some fact. But what was really concerning to me about this content is that there was one YouTuber in particular who I don't even remember his name, but he would wear a mask, like a Spider-Man mask in his videos about this, and I just found that to be really unsettling and kind of like
Yeah, like what is
cowardly
that?
because some of the things that he was saying were pretty vile and about her and also very adamantly in support of him to the point where I felt that it was a bit reckless. And to be hiding your identity and but also spreading what could have been like inaccurate information is dangerous in my opinion.
Sure.
There was speculation that Depp brought this trial to the public on purpose as a strategic move because the question was like, why didn't they just handle this privately? You know, all of this. If all she wanted was money, then she could have settled this like behind closed doors. She made many statements later on about the implications of the outcome of this case on women coming forward to speak about their experiences. She has been outwardly supportive of Blake Lively in her battle against Justin Baldoni for an alleged smear campaign. And something that I thought was interesting is that Justin Baldoni actually hired the same crisis PR team that Johnny Depp hired during his
Is
case.
interesting because we're seeing two very different outcomes then with the same PR team.
Very true. Depp's bigger concern is if he would ever be credible in the industry again, and if he did continue to work, would people consume it? After the verdict, lawyers from both sides did interviews with NBC. Heard's lawyers claimed that the jurors were heavily influenced by the trial and by social media, and Depp's lawyers argued the opposite and that the jurors abided by their oath. Which we would like to think that they did.
I would like to think so.
Yeah. Depp's lawyers were asked about the online smear campaign, and they denied it all, calling it categorically false. Heard did a Today Show interview with Savannah Guthrie after the verdict, also claiming that the jury was influenced by social media, even if just on accident. She also says that she was never instigating violence, but was only responding
My thing
to it,
is,
kind of like what she was saying
it's
earlier.
weird that she's gone and done a TV interview after all of this. Yeah, so like, why are you keeping this going? That's odd.
Right. I mean, send your lawyers at that point, please. Honest, or you know what?
Leave it
Maybe all
alone.
of you just stay silent.
Leave it
Because
alone.
your lawyers were not good. 2 months after the verdict, there were 6,000 plus documents that were sealed until after the verdict came out. The judge said that they were sealed in the first place because they could have tainted the jury.
Shouldn't the jury be seeing that? That's confusing.
Yeah, it's like I honestly wish I knew more about like why they would do something like that, because I don't really get it either. Earlier when I mentioned that there were text messages that they were trying to get in to be admissible in court and the judge denied it, this was a record of those text messages that the judge initially denied. These text messages explicitly state that the assistant told Depp that he kicked Heard on the plane. So like basically what the text messages are alluding to is that he doesn't remember kicking her on that private plane because he was so like knocked out, and these text messages are allegedly showing that the assistant then filled him in on what happened like in his blackout. But then the assistant, a man named Stephen Duders, I'm guessing, came out and said that the text messages were heavily doctored and he had never witnessed the abuse.
How do you doctor a text like that?
I mean, I could change your name in my phone to anything I wanted.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
You know? I don't know if that's what actually happened, but potentially. In July of 2022, not long after the case ended, Johnny Depp would have to return to court to argue the assault and battery lawsuit from the crew member that I mentioned earlier. Oh, here we go. This allegedly, I forgot this was in here. This allegedly happened while he was filming City of Lies, which was a crime drama about the 1997 LAPD investigation regarding the murder of Notorious Big, or is it B.I.G.? Do you spell it? I don't know. He was represented by the same lawyer who won his case against Heard. And also, I just felt that this was maybe a necessary detail. Johnny Depp's lawyer was a woman. So, I don't know if that says anything, but like, I imagine
if I was a female lawyer, I would not represent a man who I thought was guilty.
That's what I'm alluding to. But yeah, thank you for saying it. In December of 2022, Amber Heard released a statement on Instagram explaining why she decided not to appeal. The statement reads, quote, "After a great deal of deliberation, I have made a very difficult decision to settle a defamation case brought against me by my ex-husband in Virginia. It's important for me to say that I never chose this. I defended my truth, and in doing so, my life as I knew it was destroyed. The vilification I have faced on social media is an amplified version of the ways in which women are re-victimized when they come forward. Now, I finally have the opportunity to emancipate myself from something I attempted to leave over 6 years ago and on terms I can agree to. I have made no admission. This is not an act of concession. There are no restrictions or gags with respect to my voice moving forward." And in December of 2022, they settled the case. Heard owed Depp $1 million paid by her insurance company, and she claims that she settled because she could no longer take the online abuse. Johnny Depp pledged to donate his money to charity. And I just thought that that was like a perfectly ironic way to wrap up this story.
Wait, who is the father of Amber Heard's children?
She doesn't have children. She does? Oh, I don't know.
Because if it's who I think it is, this is T.
Wasn't this whole thing T?
Absolutely. Oh, okay, never mind. Amber Heard has not publicly identified the father of her children. Her daughter was born via surrogacy and brought into the world on her own terms, in quotes, according to a 2021 Instagram post.
Okay, so then that makes sense that she would have had the kid after this case.
So it's a sperm donor. God, I don't know. Ocean and Agnes, and then Oonagh. How would you say that? That is one of her kids' names.
That's Oonngh.
Oonagh.
Una?
But yeah, she has 3 kids.
Okay, well, she must have had those after all this happened. Or maybe she had one of them before the case. You never know. Because, they were
So she had
divorced
the
for
one
5
via
years before
surrogacy
the
in
case even
2021, and
started.
the rest she's had.
Oh, okay.
Like the oldest is from 2021, I believe.
Okay. Well, that makes me sad that she was like not even a year out from having a kid and having to go through this case.
Yeah, with a little baby at home.
This is what I'm saying. Like I am not issuing any formal statement on my opinion on this case of who was in the right and who was in the wrong, because I do truly believe that there's
I
truth to
agree that
both
there's truth
sides.
to both sides for sure.
And I think that they're both probably abusive, in whether or not that's physically, I'm not going to speak to, but definitely
I
abusive
think
in
that
other
like
ways.
the trial genuinely could have gone either way.
Me too. And also, I think that she shouldn't even be disappointed with the verdict, because she also won
I know.
a count
I mean, she didn't
of
win
what she was
as
suing
much,
for.
but like, dang, imagine for suing for 100 million and you only get 2. Well, you only get 1.
Right. I know. But I think even more than the money is, like, she's so upset about the fact that, like, they proved that she was defaming him. I understand that that's frustrating, but ultimately, I mean, if you know that it's true, then that's all you can do, sister. I mean, hate it for you, but and if all of it is true and she is telling the truth, I hope Johnny Depp never works again. Karma will get him. Karma will get whoever is wrong in this situation. Trust.
I also feel like I haven't really heard from either of them post this trial. So if they were trying to get any more famous, I just don't feel as if anything happened.
Oh my god, terrible way to do it. Don't ever go to court to try and get famous. It's not going to work out in your favor. But thanks for listening, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It's a little bit of a longer Fame Files, but there's just so much to tell.
Yeah, so much.
And actually, next week we're going to be doing another court case episode on the college admission scandal, and it's also a bit lengthier, but it was also tea as fuck. So just keep in mind. But thanks for listening, and don't forget to tune in on Tuesday for Reality Digest.
Have a good Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, happy
Have
Thanksgiving.
a good Thanksgiving.
College admission scandal will come out on the Thursday of Thanksgiving. So we'll tell you happy Thanksgiving in
Oh,
that
okay,
episode too.
Cool.
But happy early Thanksgiving. And my best friend is coming to visit me this weekend.
Well, that's
And I'm
exciting.
excited. I know, I'm very, very excited to show her around. But yes, we love you, our listeners. Whoever you may be. World peace.
Go forth and gossip.
Go forth and gossip.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next week for more pop culture chaos. The stories we cover are based on research and publicly available sources. While we strive for accuracy, some details may be disputed or unverified, and this episode is for entertainment and informational purposes only.